verbal component.
Yeah.
Does anyone have an object that does magic?
Um.
We have the earrings that
Thanks, Big Red.
can't transmit sound because no sound.
Yeah, the earrings that transmit sound that don't transmit sound. That can't actually transmit
Yeah,
sound.
I tried it in case it was more of a telepathic than actual, like reliant on sound thing. But
Yeah, sadly, no, it's a much simpler spell. You fixed it with duct tape and some gum. So,
That's how most
Dorian,
experiments are fixed there.
do you have paper and something to write with, I assume?
I do.
Someone wanted to write a message?
I'm finally gonna be pulled. I'm guessing nothing more interesting is happening.
No, you just kind of see the mayor. You see the mayor kind of takes a big stick and he walks over to the kind of earthen path, and you see him starting to write stuff into the fucking dirt.
I'm gonna mum to myself. Dear, turn around. Finally, go to the table. Take out my inkwell. Take out a piece of parchment because I've got lots of those. And start scribbling. Has anyone got any ideas? And I'll leave the ink and bottle.
Dozak is immediately going to go for that and write down what he observed when this started happening. That strange noise and the wave of magic. He does not recognize.
So I have a question. If you know a language, does that mean you know how to write it?
That depends on your intelligence.
I assume so.
It depends on your
In most
intelligence
cases.
and background.
So I definitely know how to write.
What's the intelligence requirement? I'm afraid to search because I'm afraid it might destabilize something again.
It's probably something like 5 or 6, something of that nature.
Simon, can you Google real quick, please?
There's no rule for ability to read.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that if you have been taught a language, you can if you can read it, you can write it. That's going to be my presumption.
Depends on how messy you want it to be.
For 99% of the cases, that will be the case.
Yep.
It's kind of the case of whenever Orpheus writes anything, it's going to sort of resemble the kind of flowy writing that is Elvish.
And I presume that Dozak's and Ygrissa's writing is going to look rather. It's going to have definitely some of the flourishes of draconic script.
It could, but since you both have a noble upbringing, you probably are quite well educated, so you probably had to learn how to write in common.
I'm gonna write underneath that. It doesn't seem to be coming currently. No, this doesn't seem to be coming from the crystal, which is weird.
Kadissa
I'm gonna
kind
add
of
underneath that quietly. Why does every single time we try to do something simple, something ends up like this?
Kadissa. Oh yeah, Simon, you could probably use your spells, can't you? Since they come from your cards.
Hmm.
Well, that's handy. Kadissa opens her hand, kind of like, and motions for you to give her the pen.
Okay, I give her the pen.
And she writes down something. She writes kind of a single word. She writes legends question mark.
I'm gonna go look. I'm gonna go think through my books. It's time to see if Dorian has read this book or not.
Okay. So for book learnings,
Is this one of those few books you've read?
It might be.
Give me a history check.
Do you want anyone else to make that as well? Oh, never mind.
I don't think anyone needs to do a check.
Almost a critical.
Almost the critical. So, you would definitely know if you knew anything about this. You know that there are several legends about times of silence, but the source of which is not really known to you. It's mostly kind of stuff you've heard from hearsay. You've never actually read a book about this kind of thing.
Holy shit, I haven't read a book about this. Probably just from the monks.
I mean, you know how it is. Weird happenings kind of travel by word of mouth.
And it's probably the monks was one of the conversation.
Okay, to test something out, have we tested to see if that us tapping objects make sound?
An interesting question. You haven't specifically asked that, no.
Well, I'm going to smack my fist down on the table and see if anyone hears it.
Ragnar suddenly smacks his hand down on the table, and you hear a very loud.
Okay, that's going to probably make everyone jump.
Yeah.
That's the only sound. And yeah, that's going to get Zozak looking very confused.
I'm gonna check. Do I still have a tongue?
Yes, you do still have a tongue.
What? What?
Zozak's going to try something similar to see if it also works. He's going to try to kind of like clap his hands together, see if that makes a noise. Just the one.
All right. You clap your hand together, and you hear the sound of a clap.
He narrows his eyes a bit, and he's going to write down on the parchment. This seems to be very targeted magic.
Orpheer kind of motions for the quill.
Yeah, handing it over.
He's he's not he's not very used to writing with a quill. In all honesty, it's a little bit messy for elven writing, but he kind of.
Do you guys want to know why I asked that question?
Why?
Because I was gonna wonder if I could just go out and steal stuff really easily.
Well, the problem is you wouldn't know if anyone. You may not notice if anyone saw you.
Yeah, exactly, and they could try and touch me, but
Yeah,
they
they'll
wouldn't
just
be able to
immediately
hear me.
smack you in the back of the
But
head.
he writes down the word "Fey?" ?
Just see Simon flinch, just like.
Hey,
Dozak
part of that.
Dozak's going to roll his eyes a little bit and say something that you could probably infer is along the lines of, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
Just sudden anger.
Sudden
Just cursing. Because it's always fucking Faye.
Well, he did say question mark. He doesn't know for sure. He's just wondering if anyone has any
I'm gonna write
ideas.
something. I'm gonna write underneath that. Crystal? Question mark?
Has anyone ever read anything about the world pillars?
I guess someone has. Multiple times at this point.
But never anything about them reacting like this.
Nope. I was hoping to read more when I get to the city.
Roll me an insight. And an arcana.
Insight and Arcana.
Fortunately, I'm giving you advantage on your insight.
I was going to say that.
Oh wow, that double one.
They
on
were
Arcana.
terrible rolls.
You have absolutely
Christ.
no idea, and you actually doubt if maybe it's possible. Like, you seriously doubt it's possible, but you wonder if perhaps someone used the crystal as a sort of arcane focus. But
That's where my mind was going to next.
your knowledge of Arcana makes you think that probably couldn't be possible, could it?
That was where my mind was going next. So this could be a massive silence spell that was focused through the crystal, but why?
But and how the hell did someone touch it without getting blown up by a said crystal?
I'm gonna then write down, anyone saw anything before the dinner? Someone did. I remember that.
Who saw what now?
Anyone saw anything before dinner? Someone say you saying someone saw the blue, the crystal.
Oh right,
blue,
I think it was
blue.
Dozak saw that the crystal had caught the light of the sun,
Right.
and it gave it it gave the light it reflected out was bluish rather than the color of the sun itself.
Dozak is going to think about that for a moment before writing down that he did see that the sunlight reflected off the last sunlight of the day did reflect off that crystal very strangely. It was blue, the wrong color.
Anything else? During the time where everyone was distracted, other than Dozak as well.
Dozak, give us an insight.
Don't worry, I'm good at this. Oh, actually, I am.
Oh wow!
He has,
Okay. Let's start.
you've got it back. You've got it back. The
Oh.
main character syndrome is back.
Did I put it in here? Yeah, I put it in here. Sorry, I'm opening a file.
Oh,
I had it open before, but you know,
Then your computer crashed.
things happened. Well, it didn't crash; it froze.
Then your computer crashed.
Dozak writes moon because it is the first of the month, and of course, the first of every month is a full moon.
Out the window again.
You look out the window.
It's a full moon.
It is indeed a full moon.
Does it?
What can that have, though?
Orpheer writes out the words "fairy autumn."
Fucking fairy.
So, and he's actually going to take the pen and he's going to write down. So it is the blasted fae.
When's it
Question
not?
Okay, so here's what you know. It is the first of Sellout, which is the first month of the autumnal season, and the very first phase day of the month will be the beginning of fairy autumn.
What happens during the fairy autumn?
It's when the summer court returns to the Feywilds and the autumn court comes out to interact with the world and change the season.
So, does Dozak have any idea why the hell the Autumn Court would announce themselves like this?
It is pretty atypical,
Exactly.
but you do know that the Unseelie court does dislike all of the other fairy courts. So it's possible that maybe someone wants to interfere with the beginning of fairy autumn.
Well, that does make sense. A lot of his magic is based, has verbal components. Fairy magic may have the same restriction at points.
But what would the Fae be doing in this town?
causing
Well,
mischief. That's all they
find
ever
out
bloody do.
what happened in this town?
What's that? Sorry, I didn't hear you, Tom. You were a little too quiet. Tom? Did we lose Tom?
Apparently.
No, sorry, Mum just came in.
Ah.
Huh?
So what did you say about the town?
I was just talking gibberish.
Ah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just
Yeah.
give a big shrug.
Alright, is anyone still looking out the window?
I said I was looking out to the moon, so yeah.
Alright, as you look back down at the crowd, you see everyone kind of looking very concerned, but they seem to be dispersing and heading back to their homes. And you see the mayor with the moon to his back now, making his way back to his home.
Dozaki is going to note on the paper, perhaps the Unsealed Court is screwing with the Awesome Court. He's going to gesture at Orifir, like he's talking to him specifically.
You hear the door open and close, and you hear the mayor barring the door. And he he walks over towards you, and he spots the paper, and he gestures for the quill.
I'm handing it to him.
He writes my sincerest apologies. We're unsure of what's happening. We invite you to spend the night here for safety.
I snatch it and write down. What about all the others that are outside?
Including our
That's what I meant.
caravan.
Our caravan.
He starts to write something, and you suddenly you all start to hear something from your comm rings.
Oh,
What?
And it's Lug. He says, "Hello? Are you
I'll call
okay?
I call out. Hello?
Hello?" You hear him call back. "Is anyone
hear me?
there?"
Nope.
Dozaki is going to gesture for the pen, and
Okay.
we'll write down. Some of us should go and some of us should return to the caravan and inform them of what the problems.
You suddenly hear a loud smacking, a huge, like, thunderous clang, from the comm ring as you hear, Lug bashing his great shield against something. He says, "There's an invisible wall!" And you hear another great thud.
Does it like echo off the entire structure? What's around us?
I see.
Dozaki is just going to immediately take off the earring because he doesn't need his hearing to be damaged.
Hold on, I'm just gonna grab the paper and write down Simpsons movie? Question mark.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Wow.
Exactly where my mind went.
God damn it. But you don't do that because that would be completely breaking the fourth fucking wall.
Well, welcome to our D&D. Do that all the time. I'm gonna go over back to the paper and then just write to the bottom and just write why? Question mark.
Why what now?
Just what? I'm just gonna write. Sorry. Why this? Why this? Comment here. Comment now.
Dozak will point up to to what he wrote about the Unseelie courts screwing with the Court of Autumn's takeover of the sea.
Then I'll cross out now and I'll leave the other two. Why this? Why here?
The mayor kind of wants the quill again.
I take a hand it over to him.
He's like, he says, you are welcome to research in our library.
Oh no.
Oh god! And then Dorian's just like, "Phoom," gone.
He's already out the door.
Actually, the library is in their house.
He breaks in the door.
It's upstairs.
I give
Yeah,
it a nod
like
to
I
that.
said, he's
I'm gone.
No. I'll just wave and point upstairs, saying I'll follow him.
Dorian leaps up the stairs and he goes he just follows the smell of books.
I know books.
And he kind of goes into a room and he sees Lady Alcas paging through a huge musty tome.
Ah, not the only one who came up with the idea.
So Ragnar, you're going to go up to follow Dorian.
Yes. Make sure he doesn't kill himself or someone else with the amount of books he's gonna read.
You go up the stairs and you see that the third level of the tower is actually just entirely a library.
I'm just like,
I'm
Just like,
because I've got so many pieces of parchment. Take out another piece of parchment
Uh-huh.
and write down history question mark and point to, and show it to the wife. I forgot her name.
the lady.
Lucia.
Her, yes.
I gave them very simple names, Lucian
And I
and
didn't write any
Lucia.
of them down because I ain't gonna write them.
She kind of motions for you to follow her, and she leads you to this to a 9-foot high bookcase, and she just kind of motions like the whole thing. And as you look at the books, you notice that they're actually written in several different languages, multiple different styles of binding. Some of them aren't quite even appropriate for this area. And what you realize is that this is kind of a collection of people who travel.
Oh.
You kind of realize that probably because they are a sailing family, as the mayor mentioned multiple times, and lots of nautical memorabilia around his home. They probably travel far and wide, and they've brought books back from all over.
I'm gonna then write down Sylvan question mark. Any of them in Sylvan? I can read it.
It's one of the 3 languages you speak.
Mm-hmm. And it's something to do with Fae, so might be useful.
And she writes down Hadrish, mostly, some Elven, some even Draconic, some Galdbari.
Not useful.
Well, you speak Galdbari.
I do speak Golari, apparently. Sure.
Well, it's the language of your people. I'd hope you speak it.
I don't have it as a language.
You don't have it as a language. It's kind of a extension of the fact that you speak Common. Think of it almost like a racial speech. It's the language that's spoken in your hometown.
Yeah, I
yes, which
speak-
is a hometown which I haven't been to since I was born.
You may not, but you still you understand the language and people speak it to you.
Sure.
It would have been what certain people in your life may have taught you at some points.
Didn't have many genasi as I was growing up, so
It's not a genasi language; it's a human language.
well, if it's a human language, then sure.
Yeah, it's. Remember how I told you the very long story about how there are like 6 or 7 different human languages?
Yes, and I forgot all about the story.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you should remember the story. I'm just saying the takeaway is there's like 6 or 7 human languages.
Sure, I'll go pick up some like 3, 4 of the Cavalry books. Set a few of them down. Just start paging through it.
All right, so while Ragnar is dozing off in a library watching 2 people reading books, what are you guys doing downstairs?
Dozak is going to, on the piece of paper we still have down here, point to his suggestion that some of us relay what, go back and relay to the caravan what's happening, and he'll also add writing by it. Can go to the other side of the barrier, see if it's crossable. If not, write in the dirt.
Okay. When you write that down, Orpheer kind of like motions from you to him. It's like suggesting that the 2 of you go. So
Yeah. Dozak will nod to that, and he gestures Yagissa towards our host and his daughter with the pointing out that she should stay here and protect this place.
she nods.
Yeah, he'll nod to Orifir.
All right, so you guys make your way across the town, not with the daughter, and you kind of get to as you make it toward the edge of town. You can see the encampment, and who's leading?
Obviously, Dozak.
Okay.
He is the main character.
All right.
Well, we both know the way, so we're more or less just walking together. There's not really anyone leading the other in this situation.
I'm asking who is in front. I'm not asking who's following someone else. Just
Okay, fine. Dozak's in front since you're being a bitch about it. Anyway.
All right. And very, very, Dozak sees Lug kind of heaving next to his shield. He's kind of, kind of like catching his breath. And Dozak suddenly finds himself abruptly walking into a wall.
So yeah, The Simpsons.
Can I at least attempt...
Roll a dexterity for me. Or
I was going to say whether I can roll insight to know that the barrier's here nearby and he should have a handout in front of him or something, but okay. Wait, a save or just a check?
A save.
Oh, it's the same thing for me anyway, whatever. Oh no.
Bonk.
Dozak full stride straight into a wall. You feel a pain in your snout as you collapse onto the ground in a mildly undignified manner. Roll a d4 for me.
Oh dear.
How much of your snout is broken?
It wasn't that hard.
Maximum damage.
You take 4 damage. 2 of which is just from the injury to your pride.
It's a shame. Alright.
Fortunately, you can rely on Orpheer to have a straight face as he offers to help you back up.
If I was there, I would have fallen over.
Yeah, and
Wouldn't have hurt me.
Dozak probably would have backhanded you across the face.
That I can believe.
So yeah, he's gonna accept help up, and internally just vowing that if he gets his hands on the Fae responsible for this barrier,
Fortunately,
going to be no bargain. They're going to die.
the smack against the barrier gets Lug's attention, and you see him run towards you and slam into the barrier with his fists. And you see him kind of beating at it.
Okay, Dozak is
Trying
going
to
to.
protect the eggs.
For fuck's sake. I hate you both. But anyway,
roll, roll an insight.
insight.
It's high enough. You kind of see him. You see him scream eggs.
Dozak just looks at Orifir, just folds his arms, and just lets Orifir do the talking. Or writing, as it were.
What, you expect Lug to know how to read?
It's worth a try, but Dozak's low on dignity, so he's not even going to try right now.
Dignity
Hysterically,
and patience.
hysterically, one of Orifir's favorite foe is giants. So giant is one of the languages he knows, which is the native tongue of Goliaths.
Excellent.
Just by sheer fucking happenstance.
No. Excellent. Keep up the mockery. Seriously, why are you passing up opportunities?
Cause I'm trying to see if this spell can work. Fuck, it's only verbal.
As it turns out, silence is a really damn bad thing to happen to a spellcaster.
This isn't just normal silence because it's only affecting voices.
Mm.
Silence affects every noise.
Yeah, this isn't normal silence. It's just voices for some reason.
Yeah, which is why
dark
Dozak
silence.
which is why Dozak wrote way back when that this is a very targeted match.
Okay, so Orifir initially tries just carving out words in giant, and you can see that it looks like a very large, crude style of writing. What would you expect from a giant? Where is Lug? I have to make this roll for him. Oh God. Oh gosh. Oh, he should have advantage because he doesn't need advantage. I was gonna say because it is his native language, but he doesn't need it apparently.
Fucking hell.
He's really concerned, man.
Yeah.
So concerned.
He's concerned
Just
about
about
that.
the
He's
eggs.
concerned about the eggs.
Dozak, you don't speak giant, do you?
Why the hell would you speak such a barbaric?
Okay, good. So you don't know what Orifir wrote. Lug reads it, and he kind of like nods. And you see him mouth something to Orifir.
What? See him mouth something with his helmet on?
Shush. Pretend he has a mouth guard.
He doesn't have a mouth. It's just like a full helmet.
He
doesn't
has
have
to
a full
take in
helmet.
food somehow.
Yeah, he just shifts his helmet up a bit, but it's stuck on his head. So he just starts shoving food in his mouth.
So what you're saying is he can lift up his helmet enough to where you can see his mouth. Cool. Good job.
No, wait, no, I know. He like stuffs it. There's tiny holes in his mask. He just stuffs the food in them.
Fuck you, I'm the DM. He mouths something. It's very rare that I have to put my foot down as DM, but this is one of those instances.
What? Because I call you out on your bullshit on most of the time. Can I go to bed yet?
Apparently not.
Okay, Orpheer understands him, and Orpheer nods yes. And you see Lug kind of make 2 thumbs up, and he begins to he picks up his shield and starts walking away.
Why didn't he try and dig underneath?
That was his next plan.
No one thought of that. He's Lug.
Oh yeah, it's true.
And then, Orpheer's also not the brightest person. And, Dozak is busy tending his injuries.
You mean his hurt pride?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
His injuries.
And they head back.
Well, before we head back, Dozak does want to inspect this barrier.
Okay, sure.
It's
What do you do to inspect it?
like, well, he's going to.
Stare at it
He's
long
going
and
to-
hard.
Well, he's going to look to see whether there's any kind of whether it's had any impact on the ground. If it's blocking air moving in and out, then then he would expect to see differences in how dust is being blown around and or leaves and shit. So there's that.
Alright,
He's also going to
give
touch it and
Give us an investigation.
Leaves and shit. That's a really weird band name.
It probably exists. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Fuck. Both of you are horribly oblivious. Oh god. But
Dozak is going to get is going to get one idea for a test though, and is going
as
to
you look around the barrier, you do find a half of a leaf.
like half a leaf bisected by this wall.
You're not sure.
Huh. Oh, whatever. It's physical, so you can assume that's the case.
It could just be half of a leaf. Who knows? Not you
Maybe.
two.
But anyway, before we go, he is going to give one final test and just going to spit at the wall. just to see if he can spit through it. But then he's just going to leave because fuck this wall.
Okay.
Wall in particular.
You spit at the wall, and you see that your loogie has kind of stopped in midair, splattered a little bit, and started sliding down.
He'll turn around and leave in disgust.
And you guys head back. All right, so Dorian, you're probably going to be busy all night.
Lots of reading.
Orpheer kind of writes down, perhaps we should stay the night.
I don't think anyone's not going to give a nod to that.
Okay. And so he kind of writes to the mayor, we accept your kind offer. And you see the mayor kind of turn to his daughter, and he kind of like motions, and she motions for you to follow her. They have guest bedrooms, fortunately.
Okay.
There's only 2, but
Well, we'll kind of make do, I suppose.
And yeah, that's where we're going to call it for tonight. So Tom can go Betty Buys.
Thank you. I need a shower as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought this would be fun to have a bunch of spellcasters with no
Being
ability
unable
to
to-
cast spells.
Yeah. Ain't used the nicest DM.
Well,
Other than me, technically.
well, actually, Ragnar does have his loot.
Oh yeah, that does make sound.
Yes, that does make sounds. So
And it is pretty powerful.
it's decently powerful. So it's not like I left you up the creek without a paddle. And Dozak,
Yeah.
of course, is he's martially capable. Or Fear barely says anything anyway, so he's fine.
It's just our good druid friend here.
Oh yeah, and
We're annoyed but not helpless.
of course, Cadissa can also use a handful of spells. Because much like Dorian, almost exactly like Dorian, she has a deck of magic cards.
Doesn't dislike it as
Well-
much as I do.
What?
Well,
Doesn't
Ragnar.
dislike it as much as I do.
Well, Ragnar.
Well, Ragnar specializes in wooing people when there's a language barrier of some kind between them. So go at it, I guess.
There is no
you.
language barrier,
So nice.
technically.
Anyway, it's been fun. No,
Well,
night,
when you
friends.
can't communicate anyway.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Sorry I had such a late one. Yeah, but night.
That's all right. Oh dear. Bye, Big Red. Have a good night.
Seriously, if this is the doing of a fate, it better not have. It better not be a situation where we need to make a deal with it.